Happy Halloween! It's Happy Halloween. It's the day of Halloween, and we are on Halloween on the YouTube channel that's going to be delivering some scary content for the next few videos, because it's the Gibby O'Brien Halloween special over the next 6-7 hours. The next few hours over the next few hours, we have 5 films on my 5 videos to film on my tab that are all stored on my tablet. Sorry, 5 videos to film that are all backed on my tablet. So we've got 5 videos. 2 of them are top 10 related. 2 of them are rankings, and 2 of them, and the other one is pick the best. So we've got, over the next few hours, I'll be ranking the characters from Fear Street, the Fear Street Trilogy. Then I'll be ranking the characters. Then I'll be ranking the kills from the Fear Street Trilogy. Then I will be ranking. I've also got a video rank where I give you my top 10 movies of the 2020s so far. Horror movies of the 2020s so far. Then I go through each of those 10, each member of that top 10, and give you the best kill, in my opinion, from that film. Then the 4th video out of 5 and then the final video out of the 5, and then the final video is we're going to go through 15 different horror killers and pick their best kill from their franchise. As you can hear behind us, hopefully, we got some nice Halloween backing music to help set the mood. So in today's episode, the first episode of the Gibby O'Brien Halloween special is the first video. I was thinking, I'm just had to just quickly get the picture up. So we are going to start by ranking the kills in the Fear Street Trilogy, starting at the very bottom of the list with number 19. So there's 3 films in the Fear Street Trilogy. There's a 4th film coming out next year called Fear Street Prom Queen, which has been confirmed to come out next year in the recent few days. But as it stands right now, there are only 3 films in the Fear Street franchise. We have Fear Street Part 1, 1994, Fear Street Part 2, 1978, and Fear Street Part 3, 1666. Across that, we have 19 different kills to go through. These are not all the kills. We're not ranking all the kills. These are the major kills. Some entries have more than one character due to the fact that 4 characters, 5 characters on this list who are all in 19 all died the same way. So there are, for some parts, from 18 to 1 are singular characters. 19 is a bunch of characters who died the same way. And one of these entries also includes different victims who all get killed the same way as well. So we're going to start in 19th. The 19th best kills in the Fear Street franchise, ultimately the worst, is that of Sean, Jess, Rod, Stacy from Part 2, 1978, and the Widow from Part 3, 1666. Sean, Jess, Rod, and Stacy were some unlucky shady side campers from part 2 who were dispatched by Tommy Slater, or Captain Nightwing as he's called. And the widow was killed by the person who basically created the widow was killed in 1666 by the eventual twist villain Solomon Good. These 5 characters are on in 19th together as one entry due to the fact they both have one thing in common. Their kills were off screen. For me, I've done some, reasonings as to why people are in different positions, and we're going to go through each of them now. So, being killed in a horror movie is not something you can control. But being killed off screen is a boring way to go, most certainly, and I think all fans of horror who watch horror movies can agree with me that getting killed off screen is not great, is not the best way to go, due to how boring they are. Sean, Jess, Rod and Stacey, like I said, were all killed in part 2 of the trilogy, off screen, by Tommy Slater, and we saw their Nick Good ended up stumbling across their bloody remains, their bloody small remains, but the kill itself was done off screen. Same as the fact that the widow was also killed off screen in part 3 of the trilogy. And she was killed off screen by Solomon Good, like I said, with a measly throat slit. And all we see of the widow's body after she's killed is her. Well, first up, her dead. All we see of the widow's death is her dead body with a gash around her neck, and we get to see a little flashback to when she was killed by Solomon Good, who, like I said, slit her throat. Like I said, all we see of Sean, Jess, Rod and Stacey is small remains of the mutilation, and like I mentioned earlier, and all we see of the widow is her dead body with a gash through her neck. So that is why Sean, Jess, Rod, Stacey and the widow from and that's why Sean, Jess, Rod and Stacey from part 2 and the widow from part 3 are at the bottom of our list. Going up to 18th. We're talking again for the second time in this video about Fear Street Part 2. And today, and for this entry, we're going to be talking, for this entry in 18th, we're going to be talking about the second kill of the whole film. The first one we'll get to later, but the second kill of the film, of Part 2 of Fear Street, is that of a shadyside camper called Jeremy, who was killed by Tommy Slater / Captain Nightwing. This is, yet again, another off-screen murder, but this one is most certainly and most definitely a lot more graphic in the aftermath. Jeremy was, like I said, was one of the shadyside campers, sadly, unfortunately, with him being shadyside, he was disposable, and they disposed of him pretty brutally, even if it was off screen. After getting egged during Capture the Flag after being egged during Capture the Flag, Jeremy decides to clean himself up and get rid of all the egg yolk that's on his face. And while he's doing it, after he finishes cleaning himself up, and he turns around and sees Tommy Slater in front of him, who starts approaching him before lifting up the axe that he had in his arm, that he had in his hand, and slashing it down on Jeremy. And before the impact on Jeremy's head skull is made, the screen cuts. The camera cuts away, and all you can hear is the sound of the axe being planted into his helpless body. Later on in the film, however, we do get to see the remains a bit more graphic, in a bit more, in a bit more graphic. But yeah, certainly not the greatest. So yeah, like I said, later on in the film, we do get to see a better, clearer view of the kill itself. Ziggy and Nick are talking about something. I can't remember what they're talking about, but Ziggy and Nick were in a camp. Were in a camp house, having a little friendly chat with each other when they hear a scream coming from when they hear a little girl scream. After hearing the little girl scream, they go in the direction of the scream, and then the film cuts to a bunch of the Shaysiders and Sunnyvales standing around Jeremy's dead, mutilated body. So what puts this above the kills in 19, the off-screen kills in 19, is yes, it was also off-screen, but two things for me that edge Jeremy's death ahead of the other ones is the fact that it's off screen, but in the scene that we discover his mutilated body, he's revealed the identity of his death. His identity is revealed straight away. One of the campers who witnessed the death who witnessed the aftermath, is able to just work out that it's Jeremy. So that's what slightly edges it above everything that we've had above the kills we've had so far. So that's 18. Now we're going away from the horror kill. We're getting away from the horror kills we're getting away from the kills in the Fear Street Trilogy that happened off screen, and we're going to go to gunshots and stabbings. In 17, we have the first kill of the second kill of the whole trilogy. Second on-screen kill of the whole trilogy, Ryan Torres, who was shot in the head. Stabbing gunshot kills, like I said, are also just like off-screen kills, a little bit boring, and I feel like films can do without one or two. I think horror movies should have at least one or two stabbings, but they shouldn't go overboard. Like, not every kill in a horror film should involve a stabbing or shooting. You should have one cat should get shot every movie, and a few stabbings. So yeah, another boring way to go. And Ryan Torres was unfortunately the first person to suffer a gunshot kill in the trilogy. So Ryan Torres was friends of the opening kill from the first part, Heather. He seemed like he was well versed in the genre of horror. After pranking and scaring Heather, they go back to their stores. On the way, but while he's finding his way back to his store, he hears voices in his head saying, "Ryan," and he turns around and looks at Heather and says, "What?" And Heather responds with, "I didn't say anything, dickhead." And then, so yeah, Ryan Torres leaves to go to his stall. Heather leaves to go to her stall. And while Heather's wrapping up and getting her store closed for the night, she is attacked by a killer in a skull mask. And after being stabbed and after being killed, Heather is able to rip off the skull face mask and reveal the person killing her is Ryan Torres. And after Ryan Torres finishes Heather off, before he can get up and walk away, he's shot in the head by the eventual antagonist of the entire the eventual final antagonist of the entire of the entire Fear Street Trilogy, Nick Good. So yeah, one shot in the head is just a standard way of being killed, and honestly, it was disappointing to see the first Shadyside killer get killed by one gunshot. And if you've watched Trilogy, if you're watching this video and you've watched the Fear Street Trilogy, you might be asking, wait, don't Shadyside killers, once they're killed, come back to life? Every time a Shadyside killer has been killed and come back to life, I've counted it as a kill. So there's a few of those instances where all the Shadyside killers, well, most of the Shadyside killers will be on this list, despite when a Shadyside killer is killed, they get straight back up. Even though when a Shadyside character is killed, when they get straight back up, they're dead. They die, but they're reborn. So it's kind of like zombies, where when most people say, "Oh, he's dead." In a zombie movie, most people say a character's dead once they get bitten by the zombie, and then eventually they turn into the zombie after a few minutes. So that's exactly what happens to Ryan. Ryan gets killed. His human life he's possessed by the devil. Which ends his human life, and he becomes immortal after being shot. So yeah, I count it as a death. If you want to rank the kills in Fear Street and you don't consider a death of a character who technically didn't die a death, then it's your list. But I wanted to include Ryan Torres because I felt like I had to, because he didn't permanently die, because obviously he was brought back, but at the time he did die. On to 16, we're going to from a shooting to a stabbing, as we have Peter. And we're going to be staying from part 1. So we're staying with part 1 for number 17, and we are, like I said, going to be talking about Peter, who I consider one of the worst characters from the Fear Street Trilogy. He was a douchey Sunnyvale who was, annoying. I didn't like him. He was really hard to like as a character. Great performance from the actor, but hard to like as a character. So seeing him get killed about halfway through part 1 was pretty good. The reason why I think Peter is an awful person, I've mentioned a few things, but a few other things why I think Peter's an awful person. First up, he treated Sam very horribly when he grabbed her. The thing you have behind your rump. He sexually harassed her by touching her butt, basically. And then after the car crash, nearly at the start of the film, he then threatens Dina after the car. He treated Sam horribly in part 1 when he grabs her butt, when he gropes her butt, and after the car crash that Dina caused, after the car crash near the start of the film, Peter threatens Dina, saying a few, bad things. So yeah, after this is one of his last. The scene with him threatening Dina is one of his last scenes, because the next time we see him, he's in a hospital room with, so yeah, next time we see him, he's off. Next time we see him, he dies. So, Dina, after the car crash and going back home, thinks she spots Peter outside of her house wearing a skull mask after Kate mentioned that she saw someone outside. So after Kate, someone saw, later on in the film, after Kate saw someone outside wearing a skull mask. So yeah. Dina spotted a person in a skull mask